All right, everyone, welcome back to another edition here of our Odyssey story. This is going to be part one, section two, which is going to deal with the Cyclops. So, if you remember, we last left our story with Odysseus and his men leaving the land of the Lotus Eaters, which was on the coastline of Africa. And today we are going to end up landing in Sicily, which is actually part of Italy today. But this is the land of the Cyclops. So let's go ahead and go back to our story. We're going to start off here, page, what's it, is it 956? Yep, 956, up here at the top with the Cyclops. In the next land we found were Cyclops, giants, lotus, without a law to bless them, and ignorance, leaving the fruitage of the earth in mystery to the immoral gods. They neither plow nor sow by hand, nor till the ground. Though grain, wild wheat, and barley grows untended, and wine grapes in clusters ripen in heaven's rains, Cyclops have no master and no meaning, no consultation or old tribal ways, but each one dwells in his own mountain cave, dealing out rough justice to wife and child, indifferent to what the others do. So this is our introduction to Cyclops here, which essentially say Cyclops are very independent people. They kind of live on their own, each in their own cave, and they don't really have traditions or beliefs or anything. They just kind of live how they want to live independently and do what they want to do, and that's about it. All right, going on, it says, as we rode on and nearer to the mainland, at one end of the bay, we saw a cavern yawning above the water, screened with laurel, and many rams and goats about the place inside, a sheepfold made from slabs of stone, earth fast between tall trunks of pine and rugged, towering oak trees. A prodigious man, which means a big man, huge man, slept in this cave alone, and took his flocks to graze afield, remote from all companions, knowing none but savage ways, a brute so huge he seemed no man at all of those who eat good wheaten bread, but he seemed rather a shaggy mountain reared in solitude. We beached there, and I told the crew to stand by and keep watch over the ship. As for myself, I took my 12 best fighters and went ahead. I had a goat skin full of that sweet liqueur that Euthene's son, Maron, had given me. He kept Apollo's holy grove at Ismars. For kindness we showed him there, and showed his wife and child. He gave me 7 shining golden talents, perfectly formed, which is money, a solid silver wine bowl, and then this liquor, 12 two-handled jars of brandy, pure and fiery. Not a slave in Maron's household knew this drink. Only he, his wife, and the storeroom mistress knew, and they would put 1 cupful ruby-colored honey smooth in 20 more of water. But still this sweet scent hovered like a fume over the wine bowl. No man turned away when cups of this came around. So essentially, they approach this cave, which has this enormous man, the Cyclops, and Odysseus's men bring with them this extremely high-end, very tasty, but also very, very powerful alcohol, which he got from Maron. Odysseus gets from Maron, who got it from Apollo's holy grove. So this is a god's drink, right? It's like ambrosia. It's the drink of the gods. And notice here they say it's so powerful that you are supposed to take 1 cupful and mix it with 20 cups of water, because that's how potent it is. So 1 cup of that you have to mix with 20 cups of water just for humans to drink it. And it might seem kind of odd. Well, why is Odysseus, bringing this to this cave? But Odysseus always has a plan. So let's see what it is. It says, a wineskin full I brought along, and the victuals in a bag. For in my bones I knew some towering brute would be upon us soon. All outward power, a wild man, ignorant of civility. We climbed then briskly to the cave, but Cyclops had gone afield to pasture his fat sheep, so we looked around at every inside. A drying rack that sagged with cheeses, pens crowded with lambs and kids, each in its class. A firstlings apart from the middlings, and the dewdrops or newborn lambskins pinned apart from both. and vessels full of whey were brimming there, bowls of earthenware, and pails for milking. My men came pressing round me, pleading, on our next page, take these cheeses, get them stowed, or why not take these cheeses, get them stowed, come back, throw open all the pens and make a run for it. We'll drive the kids and lambs aboard, we say, put out again on good salt water. So essentially, Odysseus and his men are saying, look, the Cyclops is gone. Let's go in there. Let's steal his cheese. Let's steal his sheep and goats and lambs and everything. Put them on our ship and make a break for it. Right? We can. Let's do that. Sounds like a good plan. Going on then. How sound that was, yet I refused. I wished to see the caveman, what he had to offer. No pretty sight it turned out for my friends. So this is something we're going to see quite often. Odysseus is putting his men's lives on the line so that he can satiate his curiosity. Right? The only reason he's staying is that he wants to see this giant man, this Cyclops, up close and personal. Probably to test his own wit to see if he can outwit him. But part of the problem is he's putting his own men on the line, right? So when you're talking about Odysseus, this is something that you can mention in your when you're talking about your specific characters. Odysseus's pride, yet again, getting in the way of the safety of his men. Okay, going on, it says, we lit a fire, burnt an offering, and took some cheese to eat. Then sat in silence around the embers, waiting. When he came, he had a load of dry boughs, those are just sticks or tree branches, on his shoulders to stoke his fire at supper time. He dumped it with a great crash into the hollow cave, and we all scattered fast to the far wall. Then over the broad cavern floor he ushered the ewes he went to milk. He left his rams and he-goats in the yard outside and swung high overhead a slab of solid rock to close the cave. 24 four-wheeled wagons with heaving wagons team could not have stirred the tonnage of that rock from where he wedged it over the door sill. Next he took his seat and milked the bleeding ewes, and practice job he made of it, giving each ewe her suckling, thickened his milk, then into curds and whey, sieved out the curds to drip in withy baskets, and poured the whey to stand in bowls cooling until he drank it for his supper. When all the chores were done, he poked the fire, heaping on the brushwood. In the glare he saw us. So essentially he walks in, milks all of his animals, but most importantly, puts a giant rock in front of the door to the cavern. So now Odysseus and his men are all trapped in this huge cavern with the Cyclops. Right? They're not able to get out. Going on, it says, strangers, he said, who are you and where from? What brings you here by seaways, a fair traffic? Or are you wandering rogues who cast your lives like dice and ravage other folk by sea? We felt a pressure on our hearts, in dread of that deep rumble and that mighty man, but all the same I spoke up in reply. We are from Troy, Achaeans blown off course by shifting gales on the great South Sea, homeward bound, but taking roots in ways uncommon, so the will of Zeus would have it. We served under Agamemnon, son of Atreus, and the whole world knows the city he laid waste, what armies he destroyed. It was our luck to come here. Here we stand, behold, for your help, or any gifts you give, as custom is to honor strangers. We would entreat you, great sir, have a care for the gods' courtesy. Zeus will offend the unoffending guest. So this part right here is very important. So it's a belief in Greek culture that if you were a guest, you had to be treated well. So you couldn't be turned away, and you had to be offered food and a place to stay, those kinds of things. This goes back to a belief that your guests that appear, even if they appeared as beggars or something like that, there was a chance that any of them could be one of the gods who were testing man to see if they would be good to strangers coming there asking for food and shelter. So there was this belief that if you did not treat strangers or guests well, then Zeus would take his vengeance upon you. So this is very ingrained in Greek culture and belief. Let's see what the Cyclops answered here. He says, he answered this from his brute chest unmoved. You are a ninny, or else you come from the other end of nowhere, telling me mind the gods. We Cyclopses care not a whistle for your thundering Zeus, or all the gods in bliss. We have more force by far. I would not let you go for fear of Zeus, you or your friends, unless I had a whim to. Tell me, where was it now you left your ship? Around the point or down the shore, I wonder. He thought he'd find out, but I saw through this and answered with a ready lie. My ship? Poseidon, Lord who sets the earth to tremble, broke it up on the rocks of your land's end. A wind from seaward served him, drove us here. We are survivors, these good men and I. So, first off, the Cyclops does not care about Zeus. He says, hey, we're stronger than Zeus. We don't care about him. We Cyclops do what we want. And then he asked about the ship, obviously wanting to know where it was so he could go pillage the ship. But Odysseus is too smart for that, and he says, no, our ship broke up. We can't go back to our ship. It's not there anymore. We're just survivors. Okay, going on. Neither reply nor pity came from him, but in one stride he clutched at my companions and caught two in his hands like squirming puppies to beat their brains out, splattering the floor. Then he dismembered them and made his meal, gaping and crunching like a mountain lion, everything, innards, flesh, and marrow bones. We cried out, lifting our hands to Zeus, powerless, looking on at this, appalled. But Cyclops went on filling up his belly with man flesh and great gulps of whey, then lay down like a mastodon among his sheep. My heart broke high now for the chance of action, and drawing the sharp sword from my hip, I went along his flank to stab him where the midriff holds the liver. I had touched the spot when sudden fear stayed me. If I killed him, we perished there as well, for we could never move the ponderous doorway slab aside, so we were left to groan and wait for morning. Okay, so a couple things here. First off, notice that the Cyclops immediately just grabs a few of them, smashes them, and eats them, right, bones and all. So Odysseus has already, in some way, caused the death of a couple of his crewmates. Then he goes up to the sleeping giant, who obviously is not worried about them because he just lets them roam around as he goes to sleep. Obviously doesn't think that they can do anything to him. And Odysseus is going to try to kill him, right, by stabbing him in the liver. But then he remembered the giant rock that's in the way. And if he does kill him, there's no way that they could get out. So eventually they would just starve to death and die. So going to have to come up with a new plan. All right, I think we're going to stop there for our first section. We'll fill out our 12 steps to the hero's journey at the beginning of our next video. All right, have a great day, everyone.